Donald Trump's cabinet picks are the most unqualified individuals ever nominated to government positions. Well, other than Donald Trump, of course. And the confirmation hearings have only highlighted just how unfit they are for their roles. Take Pete Hegseth, for example.
Hegseth, a military veteran who has been accused by a woman of sexual assault, which he denied, has no experience leading an agency of nearly 3 million people. Quote, "That's what staff is for," Ms. Wiles said briskly. "We don't need a defense secretary who can run the Defense Department." Quote, "That's what staff is for. The little people, they can do it." I'm not sure which is a better, take on things from the Trump transition, right? That line from Trump's incoming White House chief of staff. Oh, he may not be able to do it, but the little people, the staff, whoever they are, they'll run that thing. Doesn't matter that he can't do it. I don't know what's better. That line from Susie Wiles, White House chief of staff under Trump, coming in, or Hegseth himself saying that if he does get confirmed to this job, he promises he will stop with all the drinking. If he doesn't get confirmed, well, hey, but if he does get confirmed, he's promising he'll wrap up this whole drinking thing. And so we no longer will have to worry about all the dozens of claims from his previous jobs of him drinking on the job.
What the is going on?
Many of your work colleagues have said that you show up for work under the influence of alcohol or drunk. I know you've denied that, but you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, those are all anonymous false claims, and the totality
they're not anonymous.
The letters on the record here.
They're not anonymous.
On the record,
we've seen records with names attached
for Freedom, Concerned Vets for America, and Fox News attributing to me working hard every day on behalf.
One of your colleagues said that you got drunk at an event at a bar and chanted, "Kill all Muslims." Another colleague, not anonymous, we have this, said that you took co-workers to a strip club. You were drunk, you tried to dance with strippers, you had to be held off the stage, and one of your employees in that event filed a sexual harassment charge as a result of it.
You know, just the guy we want making our military decisions.
You claim that this was all anonymous. We have seen records with names attached to all of these, including the name of your own mother. So don't make this into some anonymous press thing. We have seen multiple names of colleagues consistently throughout your career that have talked about your abusive actions,
Chairman,
attitudes,
I think he's
words,
over
and
his time.
statements.
He's way over.
I haven't seen a confirmation hearing this bad since Brett Kavanaugh professed his love for beer.
I drank beer with my friends. We drank beer. Sometimes I had too many beers. Yes, we drank beer. I liked beer. Still like beer. We drank beer. I liked beer. I still like beer. The calendars show a few weekday gatherings at friends' houses after a workout or just to meet up and have some beers. Probably had too many beers. We drank beer. We liked beer.
What do you consider to be too many beers?
I don't know. Whatever the chart says on your blood alcohol chart.
Trump's cabinet is filled with billionaires with conflicts of interest and people lacking experience in their roles, with their selections prioritizing loyalty over competence. Just look at Republican Senator Eric Schmidt and Republican Senator Ted Budd, who spelled military wrong. In their desperate attempt to attack DEI, they spelled military as military. Military, only in America. But I guess it's not surprising when you remember that this is the party that wants to defund the Department of Education. Maybe Republicans should focus less on DEI hires when the guy they're nominating is a DUI hire.
So while leading Concerned Veterans of America, there were very specific cases cited by individuals about your conduct. I'm going to go through a few of them, and I just want you to tell me if these are true or false. Very simple. On Memorial Day 2014, at a CVA event in Virginia, you needed to be carried out of the event for being intoxicated.
Senator, anonymous
True.
smears.
Just true or false? Very simple. Summer of 2014 in Cleveland, drunk in public with the CVA team.
Anonymous smears.
I'm just asking for true or false questions. True or false answers. An event in North Carolina, drunk in front of 3 young female staff members after you had instituted a no alcohol policy and then reversed it. True or false?
Anonymous smears.
December of 2014 at the CVA Christmas party at the Grand Hyatt at Washington, D.C., you were noticeably intoxicated and had to be carried up to your room. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
Another time, a CVA staffer stated that you passed out in the back of a party bus. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
If you notice, Hegseth avoids giving a straightforward yes or no answer, likely to avoid incriminating himself or committing perjury, not that it seems to matter to Republicans. So as a result, Hegseth defaults to a non-answer of anonymous smears. Or who knows, maybe he was so drunk he couldn't remember. During the hearing, Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin, another Trump lackey, decided to defend Hegseth's alcoholism, but not his lackluster military record.
And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have.
What I find both comical and pathetic is that Mullin once again openly admits to knowing about lawmakers engaging in questionable activity, but chooses to stay quiet until it serves his own interests. A perfect example is how he didn't report Matt Gaetz' disturbing pedophile-like behavior while they were both serving as representatives.
This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
People like
referenced a minute ago that occurred in Monterey, California in October 2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged, fully investigated, and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime? That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared?
Senator,
how is that a complete clear?
Those were false charges. Well, it was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I am so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel in October 2017. You said it was consensual, isn't that correct?
Anything...
You've admitted that it was consensual, and you were still married, and you just had a child by another woman.
Again,
how do you explain your judgment?
Completely false charges against me.
You
fully investigated, and I was completely clear.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
If it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
That was a false claim.
So you're
talking about a hypothetical.
So you can't tell me whether someone who has committed a sexual assault is disqualified from being Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I know in my instance, and I'm talking about my instance only, it was a false claim.
But you acknowledge that you cheated on your wife, and that you cheated on the woman by whom you had just fathered a child. You have admitted that.
What's most concerning is that Hegseth refuses to acknowledge that such acts and behavior are disqualifying.
Good. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
Saying you're not a perfect person is such a bullshit and cowardly answer. Be a man and own up to what you did. I mean, isn't that what MAGA's always screaming about? I'm an alpha, I'm a tough guy.
I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Now, here's the thing. Republicans will argue that these types of questions are irrelevant to the role of Secretary of Defense, but I would argue that they are incredibly relevant and also absolutely crucial. Elected officials with a history of affairs, drunkenness, and allegations of rape pose a significant liability and risk to our nation and its security. These types of acts and behavior damage trust, expose officials to blackmail, distract from duties, highlight hypocrisy, harm public image, and create political fallout. Again, people like Hegseth are a prime target for blackmail, so Forgive me for being concerned about a walking liability. But Hegseth is not only a liar, a cheat, a drunk, and a security risk, but he's also a complete moron.
Not qualified to that, you could do acquisition and cross-servicing agreements, which essentially are security agreements. You can't even mention that. You've done none of those. You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of nations in that, but I know we have allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr. Hegseth, none of those countries are in ASEAN.
Across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations. Look.
Hegseth is so incompetent that he can't manage a budget to save his life.
Okay, you took over the Veterans for Freedom in 2007. In 2008, you raised $8.7 million, but spent more than $9 million, creating a deficit. By January 2009, you told donors that the organization had less than $1,000 in the bank and debts of $434,000. By 2010, revenue at the Veterans for Freedom had dropped to about $265,000. In the next year, it had dropped further to $22,000. You don't dispute these numbers, do you?
Senator, I'm extremely proud of the work me and my fellow vets did at Vets for Freedom. A bunch of young vets with no political experience.
Hegseth doesn't even try to refute the fact that he ran a veterans nonprofit into the ground. Seriously, this is the guy that Republicans want to manage the Pentagon's budget? Yeah, okay.
Keep in mind, though, just keep it in perspective. Keep in mind that this nomination, the Hegseth nomination, represents the pinnacle of performance thus far from the
drafting executive order language to halt offshore wind activities on coast and seek more lasting roadblocks for offshore wind energy, which Trump has long disliked. Trump's team is also weighing an executive order to reauthorize a permit for the Keystone pipeline, which is currently seen as a largely symbolic move, considering the construction on the pipeline has been halted indefinitely after years of legal and political uncertainty. Trump is expected to slap new sanctions on Iran, and incoming administration officials vote to return maximum pressure on regime. Restriction on oil exports would remove about 1 billion barrels of oil per day from the global market.